Hello, welcome to Sound and Fury Book Reviews. As usual, I'm Tina. Today I'm doing a book review of Dead Weight by, and I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Hildur Knutsdottir and Mary Robinette Kowal. This is a book from Tor Nightfire. It's a thriller / translated work. It's coming out May 26, 2026. I received this arc from NetGalley in exchange for a fair review. A domestic thriller, Dead Weight is a novella that is quite heavy. You might say it carries a lot of weight. Unar was living a normal, if lonely life until a black cat showed up at her door. Trying to do the right thing, Unar reunites the lost pet with its owner, a young woman named Asta, who is in desperate need of some help. Unar reluctantly agrees to take in the cat until Asta is able to care for it again herself. Soon Asta becomes a fixture in Unar's life, and the two form an unlikely friendship. But like a black cat, trouble is tailing Asta, and Unar is the only one there when things take a violent turn. Nothing tests a friendship like blood on your hands. I don't think black cats follow you. Like, isn't it that they're just unlucky if they cross your path? Anyway, sorry. This book is nowhere near a horror. That doesn't make it unworthy to read or any less engaging, though. But there's no, supernatural element. True, you don't need horror to be supernatural. But the scary aspect of this book is how it's something that happens to people every single day. At least the main conflict. In this vein, I'd argue it's definitely more of a domestic thriller. I thought this book was good. It was interesting enough to keep my attention, and the pacing and tone are excellent. The writing flows really well, and Unar has an interesting narrative voice. There's a great pallor of dread that hangs over the story as well. I thought the overall message of women helping women was very important and a worthy one, and I loved the cat Io and her kitten. So cute. When it comes to the characters, I skimmed a few other reviews because I was kind of curious, and some said that they are weird or even unhinged, but I saw absolutely nothing like this about either of them. They're just like average women with differing complexities. Their story arcs, while totally different externally, are similar internally, making their allyship make sense. I thought that was actually really interesting, the kind of parallels between them. One is obviously more harrowing than the other, and one was a bit... And it's interesting because they both have a kind of self-induced aspect to them, but not in the sense that it's their fault, but in the sense of kind of the situation they've kind of fallen into is one that's very hard to get out of, and often as a form of kind of self-protection, it's easier to kind of just go with it. And I thought that was actually the most interesting part about the story, the kind of fascinating way that people get into these situations and are manipulated and controlled. And I thought that was really, really well done. Everything about this book makes sense, but still I didn't love it. It's a solid 4-star read for me, though. I think it didn't reach a 5 because nothing about it was surprising in the slightest. The plot is very predictable, and the aspect you think might be the most harrowing part, the climax, has the least amount of tension. But maybe that's on purpose. In truth, what happens before the climax is much worse. And maybe that's kind of the point the book is making, that sometimes what seems impossible is actually not so bad. Sometimes you just have to cut off that dead weight, but it's easier to do it if you have friends to back you up. So yeah, I do think this is a very interesting book. I do think it's really well done. And I think it's just I know a lot about the subject matter. And so maybe that for me is why it wasn't as kind of compelling plot-wise, because I kind of could see exactly what was happening. But then again, as I said, maybe we're supposed to. Anyway, I thought, yeah, I'm I'm kind of rambling about this book because I'm conflicted about how I feel about it. I still think it's a 4-star read for me. I think it's really well done. It's not a book I think I would ever read again. And I'm not sure who I would recommend it to. Maybe a younger woman, maybe. Yeah, maybe younger readers, actually. Not younger like teenagers, but, women in their early 20s, things like that. It's also really hard to talk about this book without spoilers. So this is going to be one of my shortest reviews ever, but also is a novella. So yeah. Thank you again to Tor Nightfire for the e-arc. I really appreciate it. Also, that cover is really cool. Great cover.